Hi again. From chapter 3 of Edmond Gruss's book, Apostles of Denial. He's dealing here with the Divine Purpose book, which was fairly new when Gruss wrote this in the early 60s. And here's point number 15. This is about the sermons that the Watchtower brags about that were published in some 3,000 newspapers. Gruss has this to say. The point is made that the pastor's sermons were carried by 3,000 newspapers in the United States. The point is made that is in the Divine Purpose book. Canada and Europe, with the implication that all the papers carried the messages because of popular appeal with the space given free. The question is asked, did the society have to pay for this space like advertising, or did the newspapers pay Russell? The answer is given. The newspaper space was given free, and the telegraph expense was borne by the society. What is not mentioned is that much of the space was paid for at regular advertising rates. The following documentation is direct from the statement of the International Bible Students themselves, from the April 15, 1915 Los Angeles Tribune, issues of the 12th, 19th, 24th, and 26th, heading the two columns, full-length messages of Russell in a box, are these instructive words. Quote, "We are permitted to publish these instructive sermons in the leading newspapers, paying therefore at advertising rates." And it's signed International Bible Students Association. And then there's a footnote expanding this. Heading Russell's sermon in the October 12, 1914 issue of the New York Times on page 5 is the following. Quote, "Pastor Russell's syndicated sermons appear weekly in approximately 1,500 newspapers in the United States, Canada, Great Britain, South Africa, Australia, and Scandinavia in 4 languages. As New York is not controlled by the syndicate, we have contracted for the publication of these instructive sermons in the leading newspapers of this metropolis, paying therefore for advertising rates." Again, signed International Bible Students Association. The appearance of Russell's sermons in the New York Times seemed to be an attempt to capitalize on the events of that year in the light of the predictions he had made. It's interesting that the sermons in the Times appeared in September 1914, not having been published in the paper before, nor appearing after the month of December of the same year. Could this be explained by the failure of the great expectations predicted for that year? The following statement by a Bible student helps to explain the popularity of the Russell sermons. This is from Robert Hollister, Meet Our British Brethren. There's no imprint, so we don't know the date of that, but it's in those days anyway. Hollister says, quote, "If we were asked how it happened that the Pastor Russell sermons gained such remarkable acceptance, we would of necessity say, it did not happen, but was unquestionably of the Lord's blessing and direction. If it were then asked what were the main agencies used by the Lord to secure such remarkable results, we would say, voluntary and unstinted efforts by consecrated brethren. Nothing influences a newspaper editor more than letters from his readers, and we venture to say that tens of thousands wrote letters of appreciation of the sermons." That's Robert Hollister again in Meet Our British Brethren. And then he has another quote from a publication called In the Cult Kingdom. It deals with Mormonism, Eddyism, that's Mary Baker Eddy, and the Russellites. So this is obviously very early, but there's no date. It was published in Siloam Springs, Arkansas, by the International Federation Publishing Company. And Brown has this to say. Even the papers, however, are beginning to rebel, and only recently the Chicago Tribune and the Chicago Herald, each in turn, canceled its Russell contract and followed these cancellations with a public apology for running the Russell copy, even for pay. The Tribune, which claims to be America's greatest daily, in canceling the Russell contract, offered as a reason not that Pastor Russell advanced new theories in the religious world, but the cancellation was decided upon because of his questionable reputation in the world of morals and business. More to come, having to do with the Divine Purpose book. I'll put in a link to the finished mystery. First of all, I'll put the finished mystery playlist up because many of our watchers don't seem to know it's there. And we've been dealing with the finished mystery now for about 4 years since we got here to Niagara Falls. Well, before we got to Niagara Falls. So there's quite a few videos, dozens of them in that list. I'm covering this very same period as to what the finished mystery said, of course, about Russell's authority and that he was the voice of Jehovah in that day. So the voice of Jehovah quote is actually in the finished mystery section about the book of Ezekiel. So I'll put that video in plus the finished mystery playlist. See you next time.